Leo and Cara for having me here today. And it's a great opportunity to talk about the future Galway. And our cities of the future, they have to be smart in using the technologies, but they also have to be green and blue. And that's what sustainability is all about. So there's a new concept has come out since the 2019 is bringing the jungle back into our lives. We are a part of nature, not separate from it. And a lot of problems we have on the planet today, like the climate crisis, biodiversity loss, pollution and so forth, it's because of our disconnect from nature. And generally speaking, we are the generation that are most connected, but we're also the generation most disconnected. And we have to realize that. So the city of the future, we're looking at this initiative, this status. Come on in, yeah, you just missed the introduction. There you go. So take a seat, Brendan and Terry. So I know most people here, you're all like myself, most of you, if not all of you, campaigners, so thank you for coming along. So this is the bridge. Whoops, let me see that. Sorry, that technology can let you down. Okay. So this is the famous Corrib Railway Bridge that was built in the 1890s on time and in budget, connecting us 77 kilometres into Clifton, North Connemara. And it was there until 1936. This photograph is from pre-World War I. And the bridge was in operation until 1936, as most of you know, over the Corrib, connecting Kent Station to Clifton Station. And the bridge was then dismantled and sold to Germany, to a German company in 1938. And a proud element, and we were part of this massive railway network right across Ireland. And this is it today, yesterday, and it looks forlorn and totally forgotten. And it's so sad to see what's there. But the important thing, if you're going to build, the hard work's already done. The pillars are there in the water. That would be the biggest expense. And we'll come to that shortly. And this is also part of the bridge. This is not a natural hill. This is a human-made hill. That was the embankment near the Dyke Road and the Wood Quay, what we call the plots. They were the plots from the allotments from World War II. So for me, this has to be part of a new Galway, and for many people likewise. So we have to look at a Galway reimagined. A lot of us now, we're on the front line of change, fighting for sustainability, fighting for a better Galway. Believe it or not, a lot of people thought that back in the 1990s of reimagining a future Galway, and it was a real big time of change in Galway, and it was a real time of activism, and I was heavily involved. But it was a time, thanks to the European Union, that for the first time all the stakeholders of the city came together to have a vision for a future Galway. The development plan previously, future development, relied on the council, then called a corporation, and nothing else. But for the first time, under European legislation, all the stakeholders from the community sector, the trade unions, industry, the IDAs, Udros and the Gaeltacht, the hospitals, the universities, we all came together and spent 2 years imagining the new Galway. And we had some really progressive people in Galway, what we now call Galway City Council. And back, this is from the advertiser of '99, and it was talking about a new century, the beginning of the 21st century, a new Galway. And in the middle is the mayor at the time, Declan McDonald, who's still with us, Seamus Brennan, who was a national government minister, no longer with us, and Joe Gavin, who was then the city manager. And Joe, to me, I had a lot of campaigns against council at the time, but he really did, to me, have a vision. And one of the ones is that he got behind was to build the bridge, and to connect both sides of the Corrib within the city together, and also the park, the Millenium Park. So it was a real radical attitude to have, and the funding was available in its entirety at the time. And it's because of that we have the paths along the river today and the canal. They were to lead to this Galway bridge. They weren't just treated in isolation, and there was funding put in that. So we had, for the first time, there were some pathways, but there wasn't a lot, and for the first time we had connectivity. All paths lead to the bridge. so to say. And it was the time also that we had a campaign to retain and develop sustainably as a nature and as a people's park, Terryland Forest Park. So come, there's seats up here, Philip, you sure? So this is Terryland River back in the 1985. And if you look at it closely, there's a lot of rubbish in the river. If you look closely, you will see barbed wire. If you look closely, you will see a lot of gravel. It was a dumping ground in many cases itself. And that was, you see close up then, you can see the poles holding a barbed wire. So they didn't want anybody at the river, but also it was mainly for cattle and rubbish. It was basically, in many ways, an open sewer. So in '96, this young lad, Brendan Smith, started a campaign to actually develop this area. Like Galway was growing at a huge pace, and we felt in no time at all, it was the fastest growing city in Europe, but we're designing out nature. We have tarmac, we have concrete, we have housing, we have roads, but there's no green space. And the attitude at the time in the mid-90s, should the green spaces in Connemara, what do you need green space for? And if you look closely in Ireland, the parks that we have are on the east side. It was where during the British period, the Victorian period, the 19th century, they put in a lot of people's parks and so on. But Galway was kind of the backdrop for some at that particular time. So we went to the council, we started a campaign in '96, and amazingly, everybody agreed with us. We didn't have as much resistance as we thought, so it was plans to turn the wasteland into parkland. You see open pipes, sewer pipes and all going in. So there was an area from Terryland Castle here on the left to Castlegar Castle, 180 acres approximately set aside, all not in public ownership, still isn't, but set aside for the people of Galway and to have wildlife sanctuaries and to have a city farm. That's important. And at the far end of the park today, thankfully we still have pasture land and so forth, and that's critical. So it was, when we started the campaign, it was COP1. Christmas in my house, '95. That was COP1 when we started the campaign. And we were talking then about carbon sinks, biodiversity loss, climate crisis. And the council administration really got behind this. And this is the official signs from the park. Funding came from the minister at the time, you might know, if you remember, Michael D. Higginson. He was very supportive as Minister for Culture, Heritage, Arts, and he had the National Parks and Wildlife under his remit. And the funny thing is, I lobbied him at the time and said, look, we're trying to get this area safe for the people of Galway, has a park for people and for wildlife. And he said, Speedy, you know what I'll do is I'll send down 2 experts from the department, and if they find that rare species of slug or snail, you're made. We never did get that endangered species, but we still won the battle itself. So the green lungs was, I mean, what gives us life? Any little child in senior infants will tell you that it's the trees, and that's what it was. So that's the green lungs of the city. That's one side of it. And the other side is, citizens of Galway, this is your park, take ownership. And what does it mention? Culture, urban, woodland, nature, arts and people, all interconnected together. And this is the official signage, you know. So we think of having arts within science and all of that. It's nothing, it's not new, it's been around. And the Arts Festival, thanks to people like Ollie Jennings and others, has been around since the mid-1970s. So on the first day, Galwegians came, 3,000 people came to a field and left behind a forest, just off the Princeton Tenny Bridge. And this is one of the ladies there, Bridget Sheehan, who sadly is no longer with us. But people came together of all ages and from all backgrounds. So this is the first day, and you can see people lining the road. That's the Princeton-Tenny Bridge as it was. It was pasture land with a few cows in it, and it was very wet, you know. So there is Corrib, you see it was still being built, you know. So people came, 3,000 people over the course of the day, and it was very funny because it was very boggy, and the councillor he was sinking into the ground, and he said, Speedy, give me a hand. So I thought twice, but I did, so he was fine, and he came out of it. So everybody, from the city manager to the mayor, to the politicians, the TDs, the young people, the health groups, the doctors, the dentists, the schools, the scouts, Girl Guides, everybody, and it was beautiful, you know. So it was our park itself. And then a few months later, and this is in September 2000, where approximately over 1,000 young people and their parents came to plant 40,000 bulbs, so it was an ownership. But it was personal, and this is an example. This lady was the first lady on site the day it opened, Bridget Sheehan, and I thought, oh my God, maybe she's confused. So I went over to her and I said, I'm sorry, we're not planting the trees until tomorrow. And she started giving out to me. She said, you think I'm stupid? I know that. I'm just checking out the land. And she only planted 7 trees. She had 7 children who all immigrated. And she wanted to have roots in our soil. She's no longer with us, but the trees are healthy. And she said, one for each of my children that had to forcibly emigrate. There was no work. We were denied the opportunity to live in our own country, and I'm not going to let them lose the opportunity to own a piece of Ireland and to create a universe. When you plant an oak tree, you plant a universe, 400 different species plus, you know, it's beautiful, and she got the message. And this was one of many families, Margaret and Patrick Morgannon family. You know them? Some like Margaret has been, sadly she's no longer with us, and her husband is no longer with us. It was them on the first day, and this is the same family a few months ago. We were doing a Bible time. This is personal. People, last year we were 25 years in existence, and we got hundreds of people that were there on the first day, and they came back to plant bulbs, a native bluebell woods, yeah. So that's beautiful. That's the family as they are now, and that's the 2 of the young girls that are in that, and now there's 3 generations, you know. So this is personal. It was also a time in 2000 when we were going to have the largest incinerator, municipal incinerator in Ireland, one of the largest, burn the waste. We're the only species that produces waste. Every other species produces a resource within an ecosystem, you know. And we were condemned as being NIMBYs, not in my backyard. You people are anti-everything, anti-development, you know. And Derek and others that are here were involved in the time. And no, we're not NIMBYs, we're not anti, we're pro. No to incineration, yes to recycling. And we fought a campaign with 22,000 plus people involved with the petition. It was a surge of people, and you know what it led to? The council got on board, and with Maloney, the city manager, vice city manager, and John Tierney at the time. And we rolled up the sleeves, and we got Galway to be the first city in all of Ireland to have a 3-bin structure. So we said no to burn the waste, and yes to recycling. And out of that campaign, we became the first, and now it's gone nationwide. And it was also the time too when, you know, everything went into the super dump and the dumps and so forth, and we said yes to recycling. And Galway City Council took and one of the first in the country to bring your white goods back. And it was also thanks to a community campaign that we had a few years later, Cash the Cans, where you brought your cans back and you got money. Because I grew up in Ireland where we collected bottles to buy chewing gum and comics, you know, and we lost that. The bottles, there was a Dublin bottle plant and everything was recycled from my time. I grew up in Ireland where we had chicken on a Sunday, but we had chicken soup on a Monday, where we had hand-me-downs, where we grew our own food organically, but we didn't know the word, that fast fashion didn't exist. It was the local sheep that gave us our wool. It was sustainable, the circular economy, it was organic. We never knew those words, but we're only 2 generations of that being part of life, you know. And it was also the time of, that looks like today, but it isn't, you know. We had a big problem with traffic, which we still have. We are a car vehicle-centric city. So working together, we got Galway to be the 2002 we came out as the plan, the 10-year plan for Galway, with all the stakeholders, including the council, signing up to it, that by 2012, Galway would become a child-friendly, disability-friendly, cycle-friendly, pedestrian-friendly, with a city-wide public network. Now we know that has not happened, but that was written into the plans itself, you know. Sadly, we're still waiting for that day to come, but it was signed up by everybody, so there's no reason why it shouldn't be implemented, you know. And it was the time arts was important excuse me, part of it as well. So we wanted to have an art centre modelled on Celtic type of themes. We didn't get that yet. And then sadly, all that vision was lost a few years later, and they were trying to build roads through the parks, and we had to stop it. In 2010, they were going to build a major road, expand the Dyke Road, have traffic lights on the bridge, and bring all that traffic into Woodkey bottleneck, you know. And then the main park would become just an island. And so we said no to that. And in 10 weeks, we signed up 10,000 people and had regular protests out City Hall, and we won, you know. So it's all about community coming together, and with the council realising and government and so on, look, a mistake was made. So that was 99 in Galway when a lot of these campaigns started. Same year, different city, New York. I worked in New York. This was my New York, and I knew it well. All built development, very little green, except for obviously the Central Park and so forth, a few big parks. And down in South Manhattan, and I knew it well, there was this railway line that used to bring cargo back and forth from the ships on Manhattan East. And it was forgotten about over the years. Just, it was decaying. And it was looked on as an eyesore. And in 1909, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and one of his asks as mayor was to sign off its demolition. And it did not happen. Thanks to these two gentlemen, came to it and started a campaign. There was architects involved, local communities involved, artists involved. A huge community came together and said, do not destroy this bridge, demolish it. We can do something with it. And inspired by what they saw around, if you look carefully, there was a lot of wildlife, flora and fauna. So rather than destroy it and tarmac it, they wanted to integrate this into a new green corridor. And that is what we have now in Southway. This is just a few years ago when it was there. So some of the railway lines are kept, but look, there's walking for everybody, access for all, and there's also trees. So this is nature, this is engineering, this is heritage, this is people. And the bridge is not in isolation. That bridge changed the whole fabric of New York, and particularly Manhattan, and particularly on the east side. So if you go to the bridge now, there are spurs coming out of it. It is not an end in itself, it is a beginning. And it's revitalized the whole area with arts and culture, with restaurants, cafes, and so forth. So on the east side, coming off this bridge, it was a zone of dereliction. It was old industrial wasteland. And look at it now. Those old piers have now been radically transformed because people had a vision. That one bridge led to a radical vision for Galway. This isn't there. You missed a good bit, Helen. So that was one of the, that was an old pier. You can see still here what used to hold the pier up, the old wooden pier, wooden pier. And then this is another park coming off it. And this is another park coming off it. And not only did it lead to parks of what was concrete and wasteland, it also changed the buildings. Architects came in, and we have here our architects on the edge, which is great, Frank. So there was a vision of bringing nature into the building structure. So now in Manhattan, you have a lot of rooftop gardens, side gardens in the big skyscrapers. You have beautiful shapes like this. And it wasn't done for the people, it was done with the people, right in the heart of the United States, in New York. The call for volunteers is so strong. So if you go to these parks, there's loads of volunteers taking ownership of it. It is their city. These are our urban villages. This is my community. This is my place, a sense of place. And also, there is this area around Manhattan, inspired by this bridge that led to all these changes, more or less. It was heavily toxic, heavily polluted because of all the ships over the years coming there. And the communities got together with the schools, with big business, with Wall Street, with local government, but particularly with communities and schools, to have a project called the Billion Oyster Project. Clean up, because where there is oysters, there is clean water, isn't there, meitheals? So that was the key to it. So, inspired by what can happen in New York, why can't we do the same in Galway? We need a vision. We need an identity. All of us are doing great and wonderful things, but we're all living in parallel universes. It's important to bring us all together. If you look at City Council, they're doing great things like the Air We Share and the Water Project and the Climate Fund, but they're parallel universes. We've got to have an identity. We are a city of arts, we are a city of science, we should be a city of nature and sustainability and all those great and wonderful things. So a national park city, look at the logo, it's life, it's the swan, working together for better lives, health, well-being, wildlife, trees, flowers. This is the universal charter for this concept called National Park City. Places, habitats, working together for all of these, water, sea and land, time outdoors, culture, arts, playing, walking, cycling, eating, locally grown food, responsible consumption, a place for shared decisions, learning, working together, and relations with nature. We're not separate from nature, but part of nature. And this is so important. The first city in the world to actually become a national park city, thanks to an inspirational guy called Daniel Raven Ellison. I was with him in Belfast last week, a great Englishman with fantastic foresight. And he said, we think of national park cities as being out there in the country, you know, or in glaciers or in desert areas. But where is the most wildlife? It's actually in the cities, but you have to have a different pair of eyes to look at it. So if you look at London, we think of concrete and tarmac, don't we, in buildings. 50% of it approximately is green and blue. You know how many species live in London? We know one, human, 15,000. It's a whole different ballgame. So how many live in Galway? A lot, you know. Every nook and cranny and so forth. Like. So all of these cities, including ourselves, have started the process, and I see people like Kevin Jennings that have been involved as well in it, doing great and wonderful things. Cities all over the world now are demanding change, being part of the solution, not the problem. Cities are where we consume the most energies. Cities are consume the materials, the raw materials from the rainforests that are the greatest emitters. So if we're going to save the glaciers from melting, if we're going to save the rainforest, tropical rainforest being cut down, the battle starts in the city, if that makes sense. You know? And who are these cities? And this will be up on our website, galwaynationalparkcity.com. We're re-energizing it. London, 49.7% is green and blue. Wouldn't that be a great project for people to map? How much of Galway is that, you know? And these are cities that are dying. They still are doing housing, they're still doing development, there's still a population increase, but they're designing nature in rather than designing it out, and that improves our health and so forth. 35 miles of trail, sorry, that's a mistake, it's actually 15,000, sorry. 8.4 million trees. Adelaide, 29 parks, 3,000 native and exotic trees. We have nearly 100,001 parks, 30 kilometres of beaches, and the beaches are important and the rivers are important in our city. So that's Adelaide, that's United Kingdom, and how that has transformed Galway. The COP after next is probably going to, or Adelaide, the COP after next is going to be held probably in Adelaide. They put them on the international map. This is breeding, 1,300 species of plants, 93,000 trees. You know, we have more than that in one park. 60% is green space. This is Chattanooga. It's right across the world, and these are candidate cities right on our doorstep. Glasgow, Cardiff, Southampton, Rotterdam, with more to follow. And this was me last week up in Belfast City Hall. Couldn't believe, right in the heart of. And who are the people sitting with me? That the good-looking guy on the left is me, of course. And on the second on the right is Neil with a lovely name, Galway, and he's involved in urban planning and development in Queens. Queens have signed up. And then we have the other people here are all from City Council. So Belfast City Council have bought into this. They see it as giving a new identity to a city that has the vision, bringing people together. And I went all over the areas that they're bringing together with them. And so the interesting thing, when I went in, I was never in Belfast City Hall in my life, and I went into this meeting with all these high-ranking officials from Belfast City Council, and this guy here is Mark Whittaker. Oh, Brendan, it's great to see you again. I was never there before. He says I was a planner up until 2004 in Galway, and now he's leading the change, you know. Anya, Brendan, great to see you again. She was an undergraduate student in geography, you know, unbelievable. Anya, sorry, this is Anya, Mark, and this is Brenda. Brenda worked with Galway City Council up until recently from Belfast about zero emissions, you know. So The connection is there already. And if they're going to be the first national park city on the island of Ireland in the north, why don't we have a complementary one in the south, in all honesty? So before the council were aggrieved a few years ago, when we had the Kevins and the Derricks and all of us and the Phils and the rest of you that were working here on it, well, built development is over there, and over here is nature. Never the twain shall meet. That is so ridiculous. Martin Gettings, the sustainability director of the largest urban development or redevelopment in Europe, Western Europe, in Canary Wharf, he said, development without sustainability in nature, it ain't going to happen. They have to work together. You know, it's a no-brainer. The future is sustainability. You know, so our national park city, as Oswego as Osberle, it's about nurturing nature into the fabric of the city. But development is critical. We need places to live. My son is emigrating next month. We need places to live, actually, at the right prices and so forth. Our patron is the number one environmentalist, our ex-president, now resident of Galway. That's important. Our national sponsor or patron, he's our patron, sorry, our national champion is Duncan Stewart, who you may know. We have a representative from the European Union, Captain Tierney, ex-Tuam, all part of it. And what we did a number of years ago, we had set up asylum seekers champion, energy youth advocate, earth scientist, it was then GMIT. We have over 100 champions. Everybody can be a champion. All of us do something, be it plant a tree, be it have our own little back garden, be it have an organic garden, be it bringing sustainability into the university, be it doing rainforests, be it doing volunteering. We can be a city of volunteers based on nature. All of us should be a champion. There's a place for everybody. So when we started to put together what Galway represented, loads of parks, trails, waterways, and I see Phil, that was one of your photographs at the time. We are a city of waterways, and so you have to be sometimes look at Google Maps or a Chrome to really appreciate it. And for the first time a few years ago, we mapped all of these trails that existed around us. And for the first time ever, we had young people take ownership of the crisis, the climate and the biodiversity crisis. We started off with the Youth Work Galway. We started a series of youth assemblies for all of the secondary schools of Galway, and they're still with us 4 years later, still doing it, and that's great. And thanks to funding with companies like Aerogen, and hopefully some of the Aerogen people are here today, and funding from other private sector businesses, we started to rewild Galway. So this is Lochatalia, with half of it under the remit of Galway Community Council, and thanks to our friends in, sorry, check my time, yeah, so I'm coming to the end now. We actually started to rewild where there was a few cows and pasture land. We got funding of about 20,000 to put in outdoor classroom facilities at Lochatalia, Merlin, Boat Club, Terryland, because we had a vision. We all could help each other and start to nurturing rainforests. I mean, rainforests we think of has only been in the tropics. Temperate rainforests existed in Ireland until the plantation era. And out of this came a scheme called Just Tree. And the students of the university give over 3 hours to the Terryland Forest Park. Just 3, but playing on T-R-E-E and T-H-R-E-E, you know, just a good thing. It used to be 3 hours and now it's 3 sessions. And in the different parks, and this is Forest Park, putting in an edible forest, which is a nice term for orchard. So we're thinking about edible for the wildlife as well as ourselves. And using those parks around the city and our waterways and our seashores has outdoor classrooms, outdoor labs, outdoor gyms, all of that. It's just about vision and bringing everybody together. And thanks to funding that we got at the time, we're developing a number of trails through the park. This is the Extinction Trail. When we think of extinction, we think of the tropics today. We had it over the centuries in Ireland. And these are the signs. The council are brilliant at this, very supportive. So we're putting up big signs, Oswego, Osberle, with the mythological elements, as well as the scientific elements as well. And they're not just on big boards, they're also in stone, you know, and the children, the last wolf was killed in Galway, in the Castlebar area, approximately 1726 or so, you know, so again, even in only a few centuries ago, we lost the big wildlife that used to exist in the forest until they were cut down. And we have these in both languages, the Irish and the is just yonder. And so the bridge, is a critical component of this. Some people would say the bridge is going nowhere fast. It's just a kind of a luxury item. No, it is not. This is a new development that's going up on the Dyke Road where the car park is. A huge development. And where are those people? A lot of them maybe students are working in the hospitals or working in the business parks on the other side. They need away from the traffic, the vehicles. When you're on the traffic on the side of the road, you're breathing in those toxic fumes. Using the bridge, you can see it make out there. That will bring all those people in this new development, and this is the new development on the car park. And just up the road from the bridge to be are the old waterworks. They have been lying empty for decades and decades, and Paddy, you know them very well. Like, why? They're in public ownership. That should be an interpretive centre. We got it through last March into the heritage plan for the city for the first time, and people like Brendan and Derek were part of that. It's going to become a Corrib centre, and that means for forestry, the forest park, and for the waterways. We have a gallery to it. It should also have toilets. It also should have bike hire place. It should have a cafe, all of those things. And this building here is the start of modern Galway. This is where modern Galway began, when we started to pipe the water from the Terryland River to give us the water for toilets and our factories and so forth. And it's also the terminus for a beautiful boring network. So this is the Forest Park here, part of it. This is the Dyke Road, and along there you can just make out is a Dyke Walk. And it should be the Salt Hill prom of this side of the city, and this is a closer up. Wouldn't it be lovely if we had the Dyke Road just for bicycles? And wouldn't it be lovely if there was a walking area here that was accessible for all? So here you have the park on one side, and you have the river on the other side with all the beautiful wetlands. And this is the Dyke Wall that people can presently walk on. And this is near Paddy, this is up in your side of the country. This is Crestwood and Coolock. Paddy is here in the front row, and is the Johnny Appleseed of Galway. You've been maintaining that and planting all along that beautiful Galway and Coolock. We have a fantastic network of country lanes that the city has absorbed and forgotten about. Those traditional greenways can become the new greenways of the future. But a boring needs more than just the path. It needs either side of it, the stone walls and everything else. And up there is what should be looked on as the Burren of Galway. That should be a geopark. We have this beautiful Burren landscape that is unlike the Burren down in Clare. It's covered with hazel trees. You see, why don't we see that? This would be a fantastic part of ecotourism. We have the Burren right here in Galway, and not many people know about that. Just in the general Coolock area and up towards Ballindooley and so forth, you know. Beautiful stone. And part of this part here is in the Crestwood Park that we fought for and got in 89. And it was mentioned earlier, Claude, you were mentioning, we do every year, and the next one is in May, twice a year. We do what we call Slína Cashlan, the Seven Castles cycle. There's all these castles either in the city or on the periphery, surrounded still by nature. Look at the beauty that we have. They're all within Galway City, believe it or not, all within Galway City. And how many people have walked the walks or cycled the cycle? It's not your fault. We don't publicise the beauty of what we have in this city. And look at this. We are unique as a city in Ireland. Every other city in Ireland, big city, has built either side of the waterways. We're not. We're different, you know. And these would be coming out of that beautiful bridge. And this is really where the bridge starts. And look, on the right you have the woods, but you also have the wetlands, and you also have nature. And this is the Corrib Princess. Imagine the view looking out of this. So you have on one side the Terryland Forest and so forth, but you also have the great work that the university are doing now, developing nature trails. This is the outdoor lab and so on. We have this. And the bridge is where you can stand on it and look out and see the beauty that exists there. So you have all the built development on one side and all the beauty on either side in nature. And remember, this ecological corridor stretches right into Mayo. And thanks to the great work that Corrib are doing, we're becoming much more aware of it. It's also, this bridge will become the terminus for the Connemara Greenway. I'm not stripping, I'm just showing you my shirt. There you go. And sometimes we think of greenways as just for cyclists. No, it's for walkers of all types. pedestrians of all types, and it also has nature. This is critical. It should be an ecological corridor, and it brings us out to the heart of Connemara. Now, a lot of it was degraded over the years, over the centuries, but we can bring back the deciduous trees. And we have ecotourism. You know what we do 6 times per year, and Tatiana's been part of it. We bring people from Galway to work on a farm out in Connemara, harvesting blueberries, right, Tatiana? And replanting or rewilding a bog, you know, with sphagnum moss, and doing all these great, wonderful things. When I was growing up, people of the cities went out to help in the harvest, and we need to do that connection, not just for tourists, but for us. And Kent Station, and I know, Kevin, you mentioned to me, what about the connection to the Kent Station? You know, do you realise we still have probably the tunnel going under Bovermore that comes out near Kent Station? And I was talking to Michael Keeney, a great advocate of Galway, a great engineer, and he said probably that tunnel, a lot of it is still there in public ownership, because it was owned by the railway company. You know, part of it is under the hotel there. You know, maybe we should look at that. We need the connection to the station, absolutely, and maybe that would be it, you know. So build a bridge is my attitude, and build a bridge sounds like Bob, doesn't it, Bob the Builder? Maybe that's the image that we should be having for things, you know. So to summarise, the bridge is part of a new transformational Galway, a new identity for Galway City, a city of nature as well as arts and science, a city of sustainability, a city of ecotourism. Get people from the city to go out. If you want to enjoy Clifton, you have to take a car, ridiculous. You go out, you never do any businesses. The Greenway will revitalise every village along the route to Clifton, not just Clifton, everything in between. A city of volunteerism, helping nature. All of us are champions, yes. And the bridge would be a commitment to a new Galway. It's an icon. It'll be the High Line, it'll be the Statue of Liberty, it'll be the Eiffel Tower. We need this image that's green and blue and people. It's a monument to the engineering of the 19th century, you know. Everything the British done was not bad. They did great piers, they did great bridges, and we should remember that, like the old waterworks, you know. So I have a little video, but I think I'll leave it open. If we have enough time, I will let Michael D talk about what he thinks, you know, in a while. But I'll open to questions. Go to Millenium Year.